So, the 2024 MLB season is officially underway, and maybe your team is still looking for a first baseman but doesn't want to go big game hunting or trade away all of its top prospects to land that big whale. Or maybe your team's starting first baseman is currently on the IL, or your top prospect needs another month or two in the minors before getting the call to the show. Either way, here are 5 first baseman free agents that are currently available for cheap that your team might think to sign at bargain prices. First on my list is Brandon Belt, the veteran lefty first baseman and DH that finally left San Francisco for Toronto last season. Now the knock on him is that he's 35 years old, about to turn 36 in April, and his prime is obviously behind him, such as in 2021 when he hit 29 homers on a .274 average. But even still, he put up pretty solid numbers in 2023, batting .254 with 19 homers, 43 RBIs, with a 2.0 WAR in 103 games with the Blue Jays. Another knock on him is that he's more of a DH now than he is a first baseman at this point in his career. However, he was still an above average hitter last year, being in the 91st percentile in barrel percentage and in the 99th percentile in the sweet spot percentage, so he's making solid contact with the ball. Now, he made $18.4 million in 2023, but I don't think he'll make anywhere close to that this year due to his age and because the season has already started, so the big deals are probably off the table at this point. And since the 2024 season is already underway, Belt might feel a little restless sitting on his couch at home and might accept much less money for a chance to play for another year or so. For reference, the Cubs were able to sign Garrett Cooper to a minor league contract this offseason for less than $1 million, so if Cooper can be signed for a discount, Brandon Belt should be too. So while I'm not sure if Belt would go as low as take a minimum contract, he could still be a tremendous value pickup at first base or DH for a team for the right price. Next up is the 34-year-old former 2011 first-round pick CJ Cron. He actually signed a 1-year, $2 million contract with Boston before the start of spring training this year, but was released on March 22nd. Cron had a forgettable 2023 with the Rockies and Angels, hitting .248 with 12 homers, 37 RBIs, and a .729 OPS. When he hit the ball really hard, ranking in the top 7% in the league in max exit velocity. As recently as in 2022, he was one of the better first basemen in the league when he hit 29 homers, 102 RBIs with a .257 average, .783 OPS, and a 2.1 WAR. And he was even better in 2021, hitting 28 home runs, 92 RBIs with a .285 average, .905 OPS, and a 3.4 WAR. And since Boston signed him for just $2 million this March before they released him, a team somewhere could find themselves the bargain of the offseason if they can sign Cron for $2 million and he can regain even a portion of his 2021-2022 form. And I'm not saying, he's going to go back to hitting 28 home runs, but just a portion of that for $2 million, I'd say that's a steal. Next up is Donovan Solano, who started playing more and more first base over the last couple of years. He put up pretty respectable numbers with the Minnesota Twins last season, hitting .282 with 5 homers, 38 RBIs for a 1.8 WAR. Now again, like with Brandon Belt, age is a little bit of an issue now because Solano is now 36 years old and he's a below average fielder, but is still a way above average hitter, which might entice some teams to take a flyer on him to fill some gaps in their roster. It's pretty impressive. He's hit .280 or better in the past 5 seasons, even reaching as high as .326 in 2020 with the Giants. Now, I'm a little surprised with how little he's been paid over the past few years, especially with the numbers he's been putting up, because last year he made just $2 million with the Twins. Maybe this man just needs a new agent. So, he very much could be a bargain buy for a team looking for a solid bat to fill in for their injured starting first baseman or as a decent option off the bench for depth. Next, let's talk about Mike Ford, who spent the 2023 season with the Mariners when he hit 16 homers, 34 RBIs in just 84 games. When you extrapolate that to a full 162 games, which I know you shouldn't do, but it's fun to think about, that's over 30 homers and 75 RBIs, so there's that potential that he could be like a Chris Carter type player from a few years ago. However, the downside is that he hit just .228 with a .798 OPS and a 0.75 WAR. And he's also just an average to slightly below average fielder at first base, but still, for a minimum contract, he could still have value for a team. He was signed by the Cincinnati Reds back in February this year and had a monster spring training when he had a .455 batting average with 3 homers and 8 RBIs in just 10 games. Now, for a minimum contract, Ford has a chance to be a real steal for a team if he's able to build upon his best season last year and this year's spring training. And finally, we have Dominic Smith. Do you all remember the hype around Smith just a few years ago when he was one of the best prospects in baseball? Well, after sort of a disaster season last year in Washington, Smith is back in the free agent market after he opted out of his one-year, $1.75 million contract that he signed with the Chicago Cubs this past February. Now, Smith probably realized that he wasn't going to get too many opportunities to play in Chicago, with Michael Busch, the former Dodgers first-round pick, likely going to get his first full season in the big leagues this year. And Smith likely wasn't going to play in the outfield either because the Cubs re-signed Cody Bellinger this offseason, and after how he played in the outfield in Washington last year, it's probably for the best that he's not out there again. With the Nationals last season, Smith had 12 homers, 46 RBIs on a .254 average with .692 OPS and 0.9 WAR. He's also an average fielder, but teams will be betting on him to figure it out and regain some of his 2020 form when he hit .316 with a .993 slugging percentage. Fortunately for Smith, he had a fantastic spring training this year, hitting .346 with a home run in 9 games. I'm sure there's some GM out there that still sees some potential in this 28-year-old that was one of baseball's top prospects just a few years ago, especially if they could sign him for a minimum contract. And so, those are the 5 free agent first basemen that teams in a pinch can probably sign at massive discounts right now. Now, I'm gonna have to remind you again that these aren't superstars, but are just value pickups for teams that are in a pinch at first base and don't want to spend crazy amounts of money. Let me know who you want your favorite team to sign, or if there's someone that I missed. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. Thanks for watching, fellow bargain hunters, and I'll see you in the next one.